Something else that we like to do on this podcast is do something called Football Freeze as well. I know we're doing like little segments here, but I'm just keen to get it all fitted in because I don't want to lose you. Football Freeze. So you did this with me, didn't you, David? Originally, your phone is about to be wiped, but you can keep 3 phone numbers in the footballing world.
Yeah.
Who are you going to keep? That's on your phone right now. You get to keep 3 of them.
It's on my phone right now.
Definitely not Wardy, because he doesn't answer the calls.
Well, because Wardy's not replied to my text. He's definitely not in bed. In the footballing world. Well, mentioned him earlier, but let's go Nathan Redmond, because as I mentioned, good friend and best friend in footy.
Cool.
Oh, it's a tricky one. Trying to think what exceptional random ones I've got in there.
And when I say footballing world, it could be a manager as well. It doesn't have to be a player. It could be coaches. It could be the kit man. Get the agent in.
The agent.
Oh, that's a good one. Just in case. Do you know what? Crouchy's in there. Can't say no to Crouchy.
Top bloke.
So Crouchy's going in. What more could you want? There we are. Wayne Rooney. There you go. How's that for 3?
That's a decent 3, mate.
Who's the third one?
Very good 3.
Wayne Rooney.
Oh, Wazza. Okay.
Get Wazza in there.
Wazza. How do you think he's going to do in management?
Night out. I think he'll do really well. First of all, he's I think a lot of things with management is getting that respect, isn't it? You know, if you're respected as a manager and you're off to a good start, which he's definitely going to be. I think if the manager is going to be better at doing everything than you should probably do as you're told. You know, because he's still gifted, isn't he? But yeah, I think we might see a different side to him. He's obviously been a fiery character during his career. I think that's also a good asset to have when you need to and use it in the right manner.
Be interesting to see if he keeps that in the changing room or if we do see it out on the sideline as well.
Just watching games already so far, I think he's a very calm manager on the touchline at the minute. I remember saw a clip a few days ago of they might have scored a last-minute win at Derby, and him and Liam Rosenior were just stood with their hands in their pockets while the rest of the bench were going mental. So I think he's showing a bit more. I don't think he's going to be a loose manager. I think he's going to be very calm, composed. Certainly, that's what we're seeing at the minute from pitch side. So it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how he develops and what his style of play is ultimately going to be when he gets probably next season. Obviously, Derby he's taken over at the bottom of the league, so he needs to steer them away from that. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of style he adopts and how he's going to want to play. And I think what better guy really to have learned from during his career than someone like Sir Alex. And I'd like to think he's going to have a pretty good idea of how to do it. Time will tell.
We shall see. Yeah. Another football free we've got written down here is 3 items from football. So physical items that you might have picked up over the years, whether it was a trophy when you was younger, a pair of gloves that you've kept, boots, shirts. Is there anything that you kind of have kept onto that you'd like to?
Well, I've kept hold of pretty much everything. Unfortunately, it's in boxes at the minute, which just kind of happens when you move home, and especially when you're renting. But obviously, my first England cap. I would keep my very first league shirt for Cheltenham. Just very first league. Proper. People might be surprised by that, but it's quite an important moment. And then a pair of gloves that I wore the first game after Gordon Banks' death. I wore a pair of gloves which I wrote Banksy on it. They would always be. We had a memorial for him before the game at the Bet365 and what have you. And I was part of that tribute. So yeah, they're a pair of gloves that will mean more than any other pair of gloves I'll ever wear.
Mm.
So
Did you meet him?
probably be yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I was well, we were good friends. It was
Mm.
I was very lucky, really, in my first season in playing in the Premier League for Stoke, because he had battled, illnesses and what have you, throughout the whole time I knew him. But I remember meeting him on Boxing Day, must have been 2015, I reckon. We played Man United at home, and he'd been trying. This was the madness thing, but he'd been trying to meet me for weeks before that. And one of the staff at Stoke said, "Well, we just didn't want to bother you." I said, "What are you on about? What would you
Tom
mean
Banks,
bother me?
yeah.
Like, why would that ever bother me?"
Mm.
Because Gordon was funny about it. He didn't want to bother me after we lost the game or whatever, and that was just he was such a gentleman and so interested in everyone else's feelings. He didn't want to bother me after we lost, and to me it was like, well, we lost. Gordon Banks wants to see you. That doesn't matter. We could have
Mm.
won. It wouldn't have changed anything for me. But and eventually we were like, right, well, you should have told me. Let's do it as soon as possible. Like, I'd love to. So he came to the training ground the morning of the game. Um, Obviously, we had pre-match. He arrived just after pre-matches, which when we usually have team meeting and then head off to the stadium because we have that at the training ground.
Mm.
So he arrived, and obviously Mark Hughes, the manager at the time, like the team's about to go into a meeting, and I'm just like, I can't leave Gordon back. He's just got here. So I just said, look, I'm gonna have to. Can I just speak to him? And to be fair, the manager was awesome, and I think luckily we had 5 minutes spare anyway, and he gave me 10, 15, and we just chatted away, and I couldn't get a word in edgeways. All he wanted to do was know about what are your training regimes, what this is how I used to train and carry concrete bags around and jump on and off walls for leg weight sessions and get the kids when he was at Leicester in the afternoon to come and kick crosses at him and stuff like that. And you just sat there going, would never have had to do any of those things myself. We have got it all. And it was just amazing to hear. And then he was just so interested in corners. He was like, I would never not have anyone on the back post. And it was just, he just was loving talking about goalkeeping and about football.
Mm.
We then went on, we beat Man United 2-0 that day at home on Boxing Day. I met Banksy that morning, and it was just, what more could you ask for? And we
Yeah,
had met
definitely.
each other 6, 7, 8 times. I'd been to his house a few times, and he'd shown me his medals and everything else. This office of his was just plastered with everything. It was layers back, everything was in front of awards, signed gifts from Pele, and it's like nothing you could comprehend. An absolute shrine to him and what he had achieved. And when you see that, for me, it was just like, to have a collection of things like that with people, it just wouldn't happen these days. That
Mm.
level of respect that he had, and it was amazing. And he, I only received it after he passed away, but he had wrote things for me over a period of time,
Oh wow.
and he'd wrote a couple of pages of things that he just wanted to say to me that, I mean, you can't really put that in words. So, you know, Paul Bearer at his funeral, and I've been close with his family and things, and it's things like that that so much bigger than football, and um, never ever thought that I would be that guy or be that kind of person that would be in that position, and he'd always been my number one fan, which was
That's
pretty
good.
awesome. I think it's safe to say that he was mine too. I was
Beautiful.
his. Sorry.
Yeah.
Did
He
you?
obviously, he definitely. Sorry.
Yeah, just quick. I had the pleasure of meeting him once, and that was a few years ago. I was doing something, and I did you ask him about the save?
Yeah, I did. He actually gave me his signed copy of him and Pele signed it. So yeah.
Because
we spoke about it.
Because the thing that got me, and it's interesting when you talk about it, I'm listening to it intently because I sort of grew up with Banksy being the best save ever and all this sort of thing, but never met the guy, and it was always like sort of second or third hand information. I saw the save. First time I saw the save, it was like, wow, I was in awe. And as I said, I met him, and we were doing this function, so it wasn't like we were together for too long. And we're walking back to the car. I got a selfie with him. And I said to him, I've got to ask a question, talk about the save or whatever I asked him. And he went through every moment of the build-up to the point when he made the save. And I think he ended it by saying, I've on the floor, the ball bounced next to me, and I went, Banksy, you lucky. And it was just but it was the detail in which he talks about. And I was like, do you know what? Paul Barron, my ex-coach, said Banksy was unbelievable. And all I knew was this save. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of, how can you be unbelievable because of one save? And I was very naive, ignorant, and sort of dismissive of it. But when he described the save in so much detail, I was like, this guy knows what he was doing.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is exactly, it marries up so well. Wow.
Yeah. We spoke about it like even down to the detail of, he would say, the temperature that day, and obviously the pitches weren't watered, so he had to kind of judge what angle this ball was going to come off the pitch. It wasn't going to skid on like it might do nowadays on a nice watered pitch and whatever. And he might say that he meant to, but there's just that's what you train for. That's that instinct that a million other goalkeepers in that position wouldn't have saved it. Even if they had judged the bounce or they had read the contact of the ball, you've still got to have that. Every part of you has got to know exactly what it's doing at that point. You don't, but that's just the sharpness and the natural ability and the instinct to do it. You still have to have that at the end. And he did.
This is what I find interesting, because this conversation comes up all the time amongst football fans. Is Pele better than Messi? Gordon Banks, is he better than Jack Butland, for example? And then when someone from the yesteryear describes and what you're talking about, when they're analytical in that detail, you would argue if they were put in today's game, they would be the same person. And they would find a way to do it, rather than the guy who just happened to be quite good at kicking a ball in a direction, who in today's game would be lost.
100%. You're a product of your environment, aren't you? He made the absolute best of the facilities he had, of the situation that he had. You take him as a personality and you put it, and a character, and you put it in today's game. He would be different because he's got different tools at his exposure, but he'd be even better again. He would make better or best of whatever he had. And that's what was amazing about it when he would go into depth about how he would do his rehab and how he would have to get stronger. He couldn't go to a gym, like he'd work on a building site, or he'd pick up breeze blocks or sandbags.
That's why you like him.
Put them on his shoulder.
It's nothing to do with his goalkeeping capabilities. He's a builder.
Bags,
Exactly. So you put him in today's game, and you give him all of the facilities and everything at his disposal. It's unquestionable.
Yeah,
because of the person, not because of he wasn't that good because of what someone else did for him. He was that good because he had to make best. Like nowadays, you've got someone coming and tell you you've got a gym session. Well, I'm going in, but you've got people to come and prompt you, and you've got people to come and do this, and you've got professionals to come and kick crosses at you, or you've got professionals to take your training sessions. You didn't have that. That was all based on kicking volleys back and forth to yourself off a wall, or it's uncomparable.
I love it. I'd love. Do you know? I'm so glad you told that story. Because
it's interesting that it marries up as well. Like,
well, if I
hadn't
met him and had that, it was like 5 minute conversation, and from that conversation, I was like, wow, my respect for you has just gone through the roof. And what you've said in that story has just absolutely confirmed everything that I wished. Oh wow!
Yeah. Just an amazing, amazing man.